Okay, let's get started. So today's is a little bit different. Carolyne is not with us today, but Eve is. Eve works in our office, and she is here to see what it's all about.
Okay.
So today is questions. So I am here to answer your questions. Hopefully there are questions I can answer. Be kind. If you're asking me for the lottery numbers, I don't have them. If you're asking me if the employee rights bill has all been confirmed, I don't have those answers either. But fire away, whoever wants to go first, and I will answer any questions you have.
Jeff, I'll let you go first because I can't think of any yet, but...
Okay. All right. Formal resolution and informal resolution of a staffing issue in relation to staff abuse.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So are we talking about staff? Is this a staff on staff situation, or is it like a member or a?
It's a member on staff. It's two members coming into the admin office, and by their actions and by their tone of language, they put the two girls in the admin staff under an impression that they were being harangued.
Okay.
So it's not an ideal situation, and it's one that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So this depends very much on how you have become aware of the situation and how severe the employees perceive the abuse or harassment to be. So, for example, we have a lot of these situations where someone comes to you and goes, "Those two ladies were in and they shouted at Susie a bit. She seemed a bit upset, but she hasn't said anything." And that's where someone else is telling you this has kind of happened to that employee. The employee hasn't come to you. They haven't complained. You might sit down with that employee and say, "I hear this happened. Do you want to tell me about it?" And the employee might be like, "Yeah, I'm a little bit upset. You know, they came in, they shouted at me. It's not really my fault. I don't understand why they shouted at me." And you go, "You know what? I'll look into this and I'll come back to you." You then go and speak to those members, have the conversation with them about their behavior, maybe agree with them an apology, and you go back to the employee and say, "Look, I spoke to them. They're really, really sorry. They've actually sent these apologies to give to you, or they would like to apologize to you. Is that okay?" And it's resolved informally. However, if the employee has come to you and said, "I'm really upset. This has just happened to me." So they're making that complaint or that grievance to you in person, or even worse, they write to you and they say, "This has happened to me. I'm really upset." It's then most likely a formal grievance. It's very rare that a situation, especially if words like abuse and harassment is being used, if those words have been used in either a face-to-face complaint being made to you or a written complaint, then we're going to skip all that informal stuff and we're going to go straight to the formal process. Now, this applies to golf clubs only, but the others might find it interesting. You will need to look at this from two angles, right? You have to consider the employee and employment law process first, which is a grievance process for your employees, right? And that has to be run according to your grievance policy in your handbook, which is in line with ACAS's guidance on this. So you have to deal with that piece of it as priority in this case. But then the way that you deal with the members in this case needs to be done according to your rules or bylaws or articles on how you deal with your members when there is a complaint against them. So you have got two processes here that is being blended into one, but you have two separate sets of rules for the two groups of people. Whereas if you have an employee on employee complaint, you're doing all of that within employee grievance process. And when you have member on member, you're just using your members' rules. But here, you're using one set of rules for one group and one set of rules for the other group, but you're using them in the same process. So it's important that you start with a grievance inviting the employee to a grievance hearing, so that you can get all the details of exactly what happened and get it on record for them. That's the start of their process. That meeting is for them to tell you what happened and as much detail as possible. And you might ask some clarifying questions to understand, what happened before that, or, who else was there and all of those things. Then you will do your investigation piece, which involves speaking to anyone he or she has named, and anyone who might have been a witness. So anyone else who might have sat next to her in the office or so on. And then once you have that picture, you would then go to your members for that meeting. But like I say, the way you deal with the members needs to be done according to what's in your audit.
That's fine. It sort of rules out the informal process if I've already got a complaint which has been sent to me via email, so it's highlighting the actual facts of it. Does that automatically rule out an informal resolution?
There is no such thing as there isn't a legal rule on this, but I can tell you that once you have it in writing, and once you have that kind of wording in your email, not following a correct grievance process can backfire on you. Because let's say you handle it informally and the employee doesn't like the outcome. Or it happens again in the future. Or they see her somewhere else in the club and they go, oh, yeah, you went to him and you told him, and now he came to us, then you've got a problem, because then that employee can claim that you did not follow your correct grievance process, and that's actually an automatic unfair dismissal. As in, it's a claim. She can bring a claim of automatic unfair dismissal for that. That's fine. That's fine. I'm happy with that. It's safer for you to actually do it properly.
Yeah. I understand that. That's very good. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay. Next question. Who's got a question for me?
I've got a question.
Go for it.
Hi. I expect it's the same one that lots of people have got this time of year. It's to do with tips. The tips issue. So we follow all the processes fairly. We do it all properly, pay it in the months and all that sort of thing, and list it all and work it out according to hours and things, and goes through payroll. This time of year is always more difficult because obviously there's more tips coming through with Christmas events and things. We had a seniors lunch yesterday, so they collected over £200, but they only want it to go to the kitchen and the bar staff. They don't want it to go to anybody else in the club. And as far as I'm aware, you have to share it equally amongst all sections, which is what we normally do through payroll. They're asking whether they can, if they wrote a note to say they only want it to go to 6 members of the kitchen team, 6 members of the bar staff, and no one else gets any, are they allowed to do that?
I love how members think that they can change the law just by writing a note and saying, but the members wanted it like that, right? I know you guys deal with this all day long, so you're probably like, I don't get me started. But this is a bit of a grey answer here. So the answer I'm giving you is not the correct way of doing it. It's what you might want to get away with. I love how everybody's heads have just gone, okay, we're listening.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, we're all ears for that. So you could say that this tip specifically was processed fairly within the department. What you're not going to be able to do is take that tip and just give it to those 12 people, right? It's still going to have to go through the process. And technically, what will happen is will be taken up into the tips, and then it'll be split across the bar and catering staff according to their hours. So that's kind of the closest I think you're going to be able to get to this. But that's a grey answer. I want to be really clear about that. That is not the correct way to do it. The correct way to do it is that all tips must be processed according to your tip policy and process, whether the members want that or not, because your tip policy and process is in place so that it is in line with what the law requires you to do. So that is the correct way to handle this. But yeah, if you wanted as a one-off to try and wing it, you could maybe do it like this. But I absolutely would not suggest that you just take the tips and give it to the staff that they wanted to give.
No, we were going to do it the way that it was going to go through payroll, but it was just the fact that ordinarily any tip that comes in that's a generic tip then goes in the pot and is split amongst the greens, the pro shop, all that sort of thing. We do that all. But this particular event, they just want it to the people that served them on the day.
Yeah, but, that's so unrealistic, really, from them, because, how would they have felt if they came in and the road wasn't clear and there was like leaves all over the road or mud all over the road, or, they were blocked by a tractor and they couldn't get in? There's hundreds of things that would have been the job of other people in the business, like the greens team or the groundskeepers or whatever, so just because they had nice food and was served to them nicely, they don't necessarily consider that someone cleaned the toilets for them, things like that. They don't actually consider that a lot more work's gone into making that lunch nice for them than just it being cooked and served.
That was my point, really. I'm not looking for tips. I'm a manager here. I'm not looking for tips. I find it all really awkward to tips over 0 hours staff and all that sort of thing anyway. And I mentioned this yesterday and I said, look, I'm not worried about all of that, but they're sort of, I think they're just trying to, I did all the booking. I took all the meal orders. I did all the background stuff. Okay. And they're like, oh yeah, but you'll get something later. It's like, oh God, I don't want something later. It's just really awkward.
No, we have a way that we do it, and let's just do it that way.
Absolutely. Fine. Okay, so if we've got a process, just ideally stick to that and don't deviate, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And writing a little note for them doesn't make it possible.
Right.
The judge isn't going to go, oh, there's a little note here from a few members. Never mind. We'll dismiss it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes, please do.
And you might say, oh, Mel, that happened 6 or 7 years ago. But we had a similar issue with Christmas tips because we ran loads of external Christmas functions. But we had at that time, we had a staff consultative committee. So what we did was we went to the staff consultative committee and asked them about alternative ways for the F&B guys to receive tips over Christmas and whether or not it was acceptable that for the 6-week period during Christmas that the tips went to the F&B guys only, and then the remaining months of the year it's split between everyone. It got passed through the staff consultative committee, so every member of staff was involved in it through their representative on the committee. And the policy then got changed to enable the F&B guys who were doing a lot of external functions to have the lion's share of those tips during those busy periods. But the policy was changed to reflect the weighting for the Christmas period.
The thing is, I'm not sure whether that policy would now
stand up, because it was a long time ago.
Stand up to the law changes from the last sort of 24 months.
Yeah.
But that doesn't actually sound like a bad way of doing it. So, you know, if you wanted to change your policy for future years, I would suggest that either if you have a trunk committee or if you have a committee like that, or even a union, which I don't think any of you have actively running in your clubs, but as in that you have, you know, staffing and policy agreements with them. But that you kind of, if you had to amend your policy in a way that maybe said, okay, over the Christmas period, so maybe from, you know, the middle of November until the end of the year, every year, 80% of the tips are going to food and beverage and just the rest is going. But then, you know what? I had a conversation last week with a GM from a club, which was the other way around. The members had done a collection of over £2,000 that they wanted to go to the Greens team only.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they said, because we tip the food and beverage guys all the time. That's what they said. We tip the food and beverage guys all year round. So we want this £2,000 Christmas bonus to go to the members, to the Greens team only. So I'm not even sure that it works. And at the end of the day, if you take two situations, you balance it out, you might as well go with your policy of splitting it across everyone.
Yeah, I just had a quick follow-on, if I may, to that as well.
Go for it.
First of all, just to say hi to everyone, first-time caller. I think it's fair to say on this, I've fairly recently stepped in as operations director at our golf club, so responsible for HR, IT, governance, risk, all the boring stuff that nobody else wants to do, basically. And that's I'm assuming that question that came is down to your tip policy is to share it from George's. For you share it with all staff. I hadn't even considered that we do that. Our policy is that it's shared amongst all the bar and catering staff. Our green staff are viewed separately, our finance staff and so forth. But that's an interesting topic for me to raise at the next staff managers meeting with them in that case. Super. Yeah. Interesting topic. I have a couple of other different questions if we're happy to move on from that have come from, again, first-time caller, normally because I'm on a golf course midweek, but stuffed up with lurgy today. Here I go. Stepping into the role, it's fair to say my eyes have been opened quite widely, having spent a career in big companies in the past. So finding that people haven't got employment contracts in place, terms and conditions are basically minimum of everything, which we're keen to try and resolve. I just had a question, first of all, which is on employment contracts. What type of help can Gap HR provide on that? Are we doing all the work and then sort of using you as a sounding board to rubber stamp those? Or do you provide templates of such things that we can utilise? And then if I do the two together, because you can probably answer the two linked then. Second is we are looking to improve terms and conditions. For instance, I find it shocking that we've got minimum 20 days holiday, so we're looking to improve that by 3, but also bring in buy and sell opportunities to sell those 3 days back or buy further holidays. Sick pay is 3 days, where I come from a world of 6 months. Not that we're going to move to 6 months, but things like that as well. I understand on terms and conditions, we'll need to go through some sort of consultation period, even though we're, I think, improving absolutely everything. There still needs to be the appropriate stepping point for that. So again, just some hand-holding on that topic and what can't Gap HR do to support those comments or any pitfalls I should be looking out for.
That's a great question. And everyone else here already has the answer to that because they've all been through it. But if you are one of our clients, then you will already have a contract template from us and you will have a handbook. we would have created that contract template in line with what is actually going on in your business and how your business is, the terms and conditions of your staff. You then use that contract template to create the staff contracts, and you issue those contracts on day one of employment. They have a right on the first day of employment to a contract. Now, if you want to change the terms and conditions of a contract, the majority of the time, you're going to have to consult. There are the rare occasions where you don't need to consult. One of them, for example, is when there are very minor changes that you are making. Let's say, for example, you're changing the date that you pay them. Maybe you're paying them on the 20th of the month and you want to move that to the 28th of the month. You still need to give them notice and that kind of thing, but it's considered a minor change and you don't have to consult with them. The majority of the time, I'm going to tell you have to consult. The other time that you don't really have to consult is when you are going to improve all of their terms and conditions. So you're not improving one as a buyout for reducing another, which I can understand.
The one that's going to be difficult is I don't like the notice periods that we've got. They're very different. And for some of the more senior staff, they're just not a sensible time period. Now, that is a double-edged sword. Of course, some people see an increase in notice period as a positive thing as an employee. Others see it as a potentially restrictive negative point. So that's probably the most contentious one. Pretty much everything else is just saying, this is shocking, it's at the minimum level. Let's move you on to something sensible to demonstrate we value you as an employee.
Okay.
But I'm very happy to do the consultation period, obviously.
Yeah. So what you would do is you do a consultation, but you wouldn't expect a lot of resistance because you're giving quite a lot. And then you're sort of saying maybe in line with that, we're also amending your notice periods. Yeah. And I don't expect you'll get an awful lot of pushback, but hey, there's always one. Now, what I do want to say is it sounds to me like some of the terms and conditions that you have mentioned there are fairly standard across golf clubs. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't improve them and offer more. Of course you can. But I just wanted to mention that statutory holiday and actually SSP only is fairly standard across golf clubs. There is rarely extra sick pay offered. These days, I'd say maybe 50% of our clubs offer club sick pay, and when they do, it's for very short periods of time. It's maybe like this: 3 days, 5 days a week, 2 weeks after maybe 2 years of service or something like that. So it within the industry, it's pretty standard. So is the holiday, for example. So is things like statutory maternity pay only, things like that. But of course,
it was very interesting that this sort of focus on remuneration benefits topics came around because we're busy looking at basically, to share with a few others, our club has had an entire board change in the past 6-12 months for various reasons I won't bore you with. And so coming into this area, the new board is very clearly looking to put a proper 5-year strategy into place, 12-month operational plan, and inevitably it's to be the best XYZ within a region and so forth, like most clubs would aspire to. So I was keen just to remind the board that if we're going to do that, you can't do that when you're paying minimum wage, when you've got minimum benefits. If you want to attract the right people to get your club improving, you need to have the right set of benefits as well. I've sort of picked up that golf clubs are somewhat behind my world of financial services that I spent a career in.
I can tell you they'll be a million miles behind.
When I spent a fair bit of time working on Sunday Times best companies to work for, and your minimum holiday gateway was 25 days, to pick one little example, and it's a crazy world to look at.
It is. It definitely is. It's an adjustment to come to these kind of to come to sort of small businesses and realise that small businesses...
And everything has a cost, I get it, but, it's about making people feel valued, fundamentally.
Absolutely. So, I just want to say that if you are not one of our clients...
We are.
Then I don't know if there's anyone on here who's not, actually. I think you all are. So you would have all been through the process. But, Roger, if you do want to review those contract terms, it's probably best to book in a chat with me, and we'll go through the things you want to change, the things that maybe in the contract you're not feeling is right, or any concerns or questions you have. We would then do a review for you and make any changes that you need to your contract and your handbook.
Super. It would. I sort of only relatively recently found the employment handbook that you very kindly provide, because when I saw that, first of all, I thought, crikey, am I responsible for keeping this up to date now? That's what have I taken on board? So I was delighted when I heard that came from you guys. What I don't have, though, is the contract template. I'm sure someone in the office can send it to me, but if you have that, Nadia, that would be great to send over.
Yeah. We'll get that sent out to you, what we do have. Because there'll be different contract templates for different departments, potentially. So you might have a greens one.
It gives that starting point, yeah. I have a quick follow-on if I have time. First of all, can I just say it's a lot more interesting call than I thought it was going to be. Just had a couple of follow-backs to my consultation type periods and where I'm looking at changing the benefits. Do you have any intel, or can you assist with costing out some of those things? Because that's really my next step, is to make some proposals, but clearly the rest of the board will need to understand what potential cost improving some of these benefits will be. Holidays, that's fairly easy to work out. Statutory sick pay, less so. Not statutory sick pay, private sick pay is a bit more difficult to organise unless we go down a fully insured route. And so, anything that you've got there that can help with benchmarking suggested costings, and B, thinking about things like holidays. Whilst I'm very used to the buy-sell holidays in a small team, that's probably a spreadsheet at the moment for someone to do. Is there a recommended system that you would point us to that would help with things like that?
We actually recommend that you don't do it. It's for our small businesses, the size of clients that we work with, it's actually so much more admin than it's even worth. It is a lot easier to rather say to employees, to rather have more flexibility around allowing unpaid leave to be taken. And some of our clients, not many of them, have some wording in their contract or their handbook that states that there is people they can request unpaid leave. So, for example, if you're going on your holiday of a lifetime and you're going away for 5 weeks and you need an extra week's holiday to do this, then you might have that unpaid. The other reason that we propose that most of our clients don't do buy and sell is because most of our clients don't have days to sell. So if you're only giving the statutory holiday entitlement, you can't legally allow an employee to sell any of that. They have to have that.
Yeah. Our proposal was going to be obviously increased by 3 first of all, so around 23, and then plus 3. And I thought, first of all, we'd just be increasing holidays for everybody, but some people have said, I just don't want them. But the ability to hence peg back the other way, and okay, that's interesting feedback, that some do want it, some don't want it. So it sounds like it's a conversation to be had then, just to get a bit more feedback. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Roger, your holidays are based on your statutory. Do you include statutory days in your holiday period?
There's 20 plus bank holidays at the moment.
Yeah. That's
standard. I had a very good conversation with the staff managers the other day to say, look, my world starts off at 25 minimum plus bank holidays. Indeed, most of the companies and financial services now for younger staff offer 30 days because younger staff tend to want holidays over pay. So in terms of listening to them, they were saying, the bar and catering managers were saying, we can't use the holidays we have because of staffing hours and rotas. It's like, okay, well, that's a slightly different problem, but that's interesting. And the bank holiday situation with the Greens team is obviously quite difficult to manage, because really they're only closed on Christmas Day, the only day the golf course is closed. They're working all those bank holidays. I think they get time and a quarter on coming in on those bank holidays. But again, it tends to be only a small section of the Greens team that ever volunteer to do the bank holiday work. So it doesn't seem like it's a sort of fair approach to it. And the generosity for that has dictated the fact that it's only the most senior Green staff that feel obliged to have to come in to cover those bank holidays.
Yeah. We have what I'm going to say, a long-term service policy. So after, I think it's 3 years, you add 1 extra day's leave on for
with 1
employees.
after 5 days, which 1 after 5 years, which 1 after 5
That's
days.
generous.
Which again almost feels like it's begrudging, but it's a positive step at least.
Yeah.
This actually gives me the opportunity to just remind you guys of something that comes up a lot this time of the year, because there's a lot of bank holidays this time of the year. You do not have to pay employees extra to work a bank holiday. There's absolutely not a law in the country that requires you to do that. Employees think there is. Employees think they are entitled to time and a half or double time for working a bank holiday. Oh, I work Christmas, I need about... No, obviously nobody works Christmas because it's closed, but you know what I mean. There isn't. There is no law that requires you to pay them a penny extra for working a bank holiday. Now, your policies might. Yeah. So your contracts and your policies might require you to do that, because that's what they say, or because that's what you have done for hundreds and hundreds of years and not written it down anywhere. In that case, yes, you do. But if you don't have it written down anywhere and it is not normally paid, and employees are coming around to you this time of the year, especially the ones who don't often work a bank holiday, and they're going, oh, we're working this bank holiday and that bank holiday and we need to get paid extra. No, they don't. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, if your holiday entitlements say including bank holidays, so if your holiday entitlement says 28 days including bank holidays, that really means for the employer that bank holidays is a normal working day, except employers booked it off. They are not entitled to have it off and opt into working. They are working it and they book it off if they want to have it off. And that can be approved or declined like any other holiday. That is the benefit, one of the benefits of stating it in that manner for the employers. For the employee, the benefit is that they get to use 28 days wherever they like, whether a bank holiday is involved or not. So it is beneficial both ways to have it that way. But I just thought I'd clarify that, because that always comes up this time of the year.
Just a quick question. If it is worded in that way, it's 28 days including bank holidays. If the government approve an additional bank holiday, as we've done before for whatever we've done it for, whether it's funeral, weddings and so forth, royal weddings, isn't there then the risk that you're impacting on your statutory 20?
Yes. And in those, there is and there isn't. So it depends very much on exactly what your contractual wording is. And I know that Dawn and Mal have been with me for the last few years and they have been through these bits. It depends very much on exactly what your contractual wording is.
Ours says including.
Yeah. So if yours just says including bank holidays,
right,
we're going to need to give them an extra day in that month. If it says it includes 8 bank holidays, more flexibility. Yeah. But what we have found is that our clients have mostly given it because it's an extra bank holiday and just said, this year you have 28. But then I think it's last year we actually had 27 because of how the year worked out. It was with the Easter holidays, and it actually meant that one year had one extra and the next year had one short. And most people just left it at 28 to 28. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But let's deal with that problem when it happens again. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me. It was a slightly longer one today, but definitely worth it. And we will see you next Thursday, which is Christmas Jumper Day. I want to see you all, and I want to see you in Christmas jumpers, please. Oh, look at that, Jeff. Oh, Mal, that's really cute. That's so cute. And Roger's already got his on. Yeah. So we'll see you guys
next week. This is the tame
week.
one. This is very tame.
That is very tame. You could look at that and be like, is it right? Mal's hiding a Christmas vibe as well. All right, guys. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.